Clay Carmouche, he, him, a narrative director at IDXbox Publishing. All things story, narrative, that can mean in the kind of editorial capacity, it can be writing support, dialogue, character creation, just all the things that go into making a game story. And it depends on what their needs are on their teams. I work with teams that have no writer assigned. It might just be a creative director with a vision, and then it's a much more intensive, I've been like part of the team in that way. And then I've been at a far distance because there's teams that are building up that just have a full narrative support. And in those cases, I might just kind of figure out where I slot in. Like on Tell Me Why, that game was dealing with a lot of different communities, Southeast Alaskans and the trans community. And so a lot of that role was working with some of our external consultants and trying to get the representation right. So it's kind of like a bridge between the development team and the narrative team and some of those groups. I'd always wanted to be a writer, and I thought I would write fiction or movies, and was doing both freelance, which means mostly unpaid, and had a couple of years where I'd sell something and it'd be okay, and took a shot at working with a game studio and knowing nothing really. I mean, I was a game player, but didn't really know anything about narrative design as a discipline or writing in games. And got brought in the mid-2000s just to do like a dialogue punch-up. And then that led to another title where I was doing like character creation and writing some cinematics, but it was always outsourced. It was always outside the building, so I didn't really understand still. I was just filling up documents in my apartment. And then Bungie was the first time I was embedded with the studio and able to talk to other discipline leads and learn more about the industry. Realizing, what's the good way to say this? That the script is not the foundation of every game. Sometimes it is. Like, Tell Me Why, the script was foundational to that. You couldn't veer too far off of it. But unlike a comic book, unlike a movie or a TV show, it's like you kind of start with the best intentions of a script and then reality hits you in the face. And you're like, okay, well that gets thrown out now and let's get a new script in here. You kind of have to pivot and improvise and figure out quickly how to tweak a story when there's a change that is, is just a matter of fact. Like you can't get around it. You have to cut a level of a game. And now it's like, how do we make this story make sense? This is why a lot of game stories don't make sense, by the way. Sometimes it's an incompetent writer, but usually it's a late-breaking change in the game and you just had to adapt. And then over time, you kind of build the skill of knowing when to go hard, and you kind of keep things loose in the beginning. And then once you can kind of see, okay, we're landing this, that's when you kind of go hard and, do the things that I was doing flipped. I was like putting all my energy in right at the beginning, and then it's like none of that stuff made it into anything. You want the real answer? Man, I got this mortgage. I got these kids. Hold on. What makes me stay in gaming? I love it. It's funny, I think I said in the hall, I was about 10 years into it before I realized it was my career. Like I really got into it sideways, and now like I couldn't go back. I've had, people from my old life like, hey, you want to write this script together? I'm like, nah, not really. And I think what I love about it is writing is a very lonely craft, but games, it's like, you're dealing with so many different people, so many different disciplines, and I love that collaboration. And I love, I like art. I like music. I like visual art. I like games. And so it is just this kind of hybrid of all these cool disciplines that come together to make in this little package to make this fun content.